Do you like RTS games? Me neither. Today we're going to talk about Brutal Legend. Jack Black is now, and has always been, just a lovable tub of goo for me. And I don't know if it's my age, or it's the movies coming out in times where their camp was endearing for me instead of cringy, but either way, there's just something about him. His goofy smile, his willingness to both fuck a Lee and fuck a Lou brings some spark to my inebriant-addled soul. But if you were like me in those days, and you were lucky enough not to be jaded to hell and back by the gaming industry, you might be excited for a game featuring him. And I would be excited for you because I know you, like me at my first Catholic summer camp, are about to become a little more jaded and far more averse to Tim Schafer. Jack Black's Snack Attack came out in 2009, and it seems very indicative of what would end up being a fairly large split in the industry. Arkham Asylum and Assassin's Creed 2 also came out in 2009, along with Modern Warfare 2 and League. Sorry. League. Once again, like my first communion, I had no idea that the initial excitement for these entries would turn into such long-term commitments to digging through my pockets. The game was done in the graphical style that I've always been partial to, and 2009 was a year of pushes towards fidelity and realism that we really hadn't seen since the polygon was invented, and then we determined we could harness that for powers such as, Lara Croft's tits. Modern Warfare 2 went for grit, Uncharted 2 went for wit, and League, of course, went for shit. But some, like Whack Mac Backpack, kept that soft, plump, cartoony style that first endeared me to things like Legend of Zelda and Bayonetta. The modern palate may not find the visuals as appealing, but any person of culture ought to do exactly what I did. And you take all the game sounds, drop those down to 8, and you crank the music volume up to 11. The game's inundated with metal themes, just as the box art's going to suggest, but the selection of tracks has horsecock levels of blowout. Truthfully, if not for the music enhancing the somewhat intriguing atmosphere, there really wouldn't be any reason to keep playing it. I like two things in this world. Horrors that are hard. Hold on. I misread that. Horror and things that are hard. I talk about those things a lot because they're very important to gaming. For a game to be worth playing, it needs something, some pizzazz, some panache, and either challenge me or frighten me or engage me or something. And this game reminded me of the downward spiral that we now find ourselves in. We're watering down the only reason to choose games over other forms of entertainment for palatability and approachability, and I'm amazed at how little I actually did while playing. It's like the game didn't want me to handle shit, but it was content with sitting in the corner, smearing it on its face and asking me why I'm so serious. Slack and clack, come on. It's not that I want shit in my hands, but I think I can do more with it than you can. You won't let me get strong enough to really turn the tide of battle in any significant way, and you also won't give me troops that have AI that have any sort of self-preservation, so by the time they reach their objective, half of them are already dead, and I can pump out units as fast as you'll let me, but that only lasts as long as my fans do, which you only give me enough of to pump out maybe one unit every 30 seconds. My fans and my army both last about as long as I do in bed, and that's 30 extremely unapologetic seconds. I just want to know, at some point, who decided to balance this game. I can get 5 units out in 30 seconds, but it takes a minute to get enough fans back for 1 unit. The strongest units in the game are absolutely the base units, but to upgrade them you essentially need to wait 10 minutes while not producing to have enough points to upgrade them. And a reasonable suggestion would be to take those points and go quantity over quality, but the load limit is set to French levels, so you're fucked as soon as you get more than 3 people with guns. More importantly, I played most of the game on the hardest difficulty, not intentionally, partially because I had dropped it in a fight, then failed that fight on the drop difficulty, so that when it reloaded, it returned it to brutal difficulty because that was what was on the last save state, and I ended up slogging through more at that difficulty unbeknownst to me, and that's where the trouble is. It's not hard. It's just a fucking slog. The AI is more aggressive on the harder difficulties, but it's not much more dynamic, and all it really changes is how squishy you are and how erect the enemy is. It's a lot like Penuma. It's longer, but it's not noticeably harder. challenge is learning and mastering new techniques and weapons and tools and abilities. It's not being forced to use the base abilities for longer at a time. That's not a challenge. It's fucking stupid. The game genuinely has a fun atmosphere. I like seeing Jack Black as some yoked out roadie, and an entire hellscape based around metal. Super cool. But there's just not much better to say about it. When I finished, it flashed a message on the screen inviting me to continue exploring the open world. Fucking excuse me? Why would I go anywhere in this world if no matter what direction I head, there's literally nothing to do? I think the game is lying to me, and I think it's lying to itself. They wanted Jack Black, I get it, who doesn't? But what did they actually do with him? They had an interesting concept, but why confuse RTS with action with adventure? I'm starting to have half a mind to think that maybe you just wanted to make a movie, and if that's the case, stick to it. But I don't play games to watch movies, and I don't watch porn for the plot. I want both of them to be hard, or I don't want them at all.